If you know that content marketing is important, but you've ever found yourself saying that you're just too busy, or you don't have time, or you don't even know where to start, then this video is going to solve all of that for you. Because here's the deal. Content marketing is one of the most valuable marketing strategies there is, period. Whether it's blogging, podcasting, video, or simply being present, active, and engaged on social media, content is how your clients, your customers, and your audience find you, learn about you, and ultimately decide whether to buy from you or not. Plus, as every marketer on the planet knows, content is everything, because everything is content. From the posts you make, to the ads you write, to the videos or podcasts you record, it's all content. Which means if you want to succeed at marketing today, you need to be able to create good quality content at scale. And that means you need a system to come up with as much high quality content as quickly as possible. How quickly, you might ask? Well, how does carving out just 3 hours in a single afternoon to effectively plan and script and record an entire 90 days worth of content for you, your business, or anything else you can think of sound? Now, I can't see you. It'd sure be creepy if I could. But I'm going to assume that the ability to create 90 days worth of content in just 3 hours is something that you'd find useful. Because over the past 10 years as a digital marketer, I've come across and tested and used a ton of different marketing strategies. I've used pretty much every kind of online advertising, ran a search engine optimization or SEO agency for years, have built hundreds if not thousands of marketing funnels and email campaigns and webinars and sales pages, and pretty much anything else you can think of. And while all of those strategies worked and ended up paying off, it was the ones that were backed by a solid content marketing strategy and plan that paid off the most. And that's the beauty of content marketing. It doesn't matter if you're a massive business with a huge budget, or you're a brand new marketer or small entrepreneur who's just getting started. Content marketing can work for you. So let me show you how it's done. The complete system, and how to create high quality content incredibly fast. But first, I want to introduce you to a simple but powerful tool that can make everything that I'm about to share with you that much easier and that much faster. It's called Munch, and they were kind enough to sponsor this video. Munch, aside from having an amazing name, is also on a mission to help content creators decide what content to create, how to repurpose it, distribute it, engage with their fans, and maybe most importantly of all, monetize their content. What Munch does is use the power of AI to comb through your long-form videos and pick out the best and most perfect moments to use as clips on other social media platforms. Just paste a link to your content, decide what kind of other content you want to turn it into, and then choose the length and format, and you're done. And there's no editing required, as Munch can auto-crop the original video to the right aspect ratio for the right platform. Not only that, but it's free, as in $0. No cost, nothing. So make sure to check out the link in the descriptions below this video and sign up for your free Munch account right after this video. So with that said, the way to create 90 days of content in 3 hours all starts by first identifying your preferred content style. The first thing you need to consider whenever you're making any kind of content is what's your preferred content style. Now, when we're talking about content marketing, specifically in a digital marketing context, well, we're really looking at it from one of 4 different types, whether that's text, or audio, or video, or graphics. So the big thing that you need to decide is what is your preferred style of creating content, and more importantly, what is your market, your audience's preferred style of content consumption. After all, if you love to write, but your audience wants everything in audio or in video, then there's going to be a bit of a mismatch, and you don't want to waste your time making content that nobody's going to consume. Now, my strong recommendation is that if at all possible, you do some kind of video content. Not only is this the most effective form of communication possible outside of face-to-face or person-to-person communication, but it's also going to give you the most flexibility and the most options in regards to transcribing that video, turning it into audio, creating social media from it, all of the things we're going to talk about in just a minute. Plus, video, sometimes audio, well, they're going to meet all of the criteria that are necessary in order to make this whole 90 days of content in 3 hours thing work. So on that note, the criteria in order for this to work is that you need to create long-form content. Long-form content is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's content that's long, as in not short. There's really not much more to say about it there. Some examples would be things like long videos, webinars, presentations, podcasts, or books. But seeing as cranking out a book in 3 hours would be a challenge, I'm gonna suggest you choose either a podcast or a video. Podcasting is easier to get started with, either as a guest on someone else's or setting aside a few hours to create your own. But YouTube is more versatile and personable, and allows you to create a podcast from it anyway, simply by stripping out the audio. Whatever the case, the goal here is simple. And that's to take everything you know and everything you can think of about your business, your market, your industry, and get it out of your head and into some kind of media. Ultimately, we're going to want your content to have an element of writing, as in written word or text to it. And while writing usually is my preferred method of creating content, at least to start, if I want to be quick, like we do here, then talking is best. I'll dive into the specifics a little deeper in just a minute. What's important to know now though, at this stage, is what we're going to be doing next with this long-form content, which is to turn it into multiple pieces of short-form content. If long-form content is long, then short-form content is, wait for it, that's right, short. See? Marketing's easy. So when you think of short-form content, we're talking about social media posts and possibly stories and reels and tweets and things like that. You know, short, easy to consume kind of stuff. Short-form content could even be something like a marketing email, though that's kind of a gray area that falls between long and short depending on how long your email is. But let's not get lost in the weeds here. It's really not that important. What's important and what really matters here is that by first creating a kind of long-form content, it's going to give you a ton of flexibility in order to splice and dice and carve it up and turn it into a number of different short-form pieces of content. Content that you can then share and distribute all across the web and through social media with very little additional effort. This in turn helps you increase touch points, which enables you to stay top of mind with your clients and customers and audience, but it also benefits from a psychological phenomenon known as the mere exposure effect, which essentially just says that we, as humans, well, we like things and we trust them more the more often we see them. In other words, frequency equals trust. All the more reason to make content marketing, and more specifically, the strategy I'm outlining for you here today, a core part of your overall marketing strategy. So now that we've got the principles and the foundation and the strategy laid out, let's dive into the specifics and the tactics and the step-by-step plan behind what I call the fast content formula. Now, the first step of the fast content formula is to identify your target market, your ideal perfect fit customer or client or audience that you're seeking to serve. This part is incredibly important because you want to make sure that the content you're creating is actually something that they want to consume. The better you know your audience and the people you're seeking to serve, the better your content is going to be because it's going to align with their wants and their needs and their desires and all of the things that they would like solutions for. This is why, if you haven't done so yet, you really want to identify and create an ideal customer avatar that's made up of the following three characteristics. First, their demographic details, like their age and gender and income and occupation and title, kind of those stereotypical marketing things when we think of an ideal customer. Next, we have their geographic details, which is what city or state or province or country that they happen to live in. And then you have their psychographic details, all of the head stuff, like their values and attitudes and beliefs and opinions and organizations and groups and political affiliations and things like that. Once that's done, it's time to move on to step number 2, which is to find their biggest pains. You see, content and marketing and your business are really just there to solve customer problems. But in order to solve the problems, you first need to identify what problems they have. Then you need to decide which problems are worth solving. The fact is, your business, your offer, you yourself are probably capable of helping people with a number of different things, but you want to make sure that there's alignment between the things that you're going to be paid best for, the things that are going to provide the most value to your market, and the things that you actually enjoy serving and doing for other people. Now here's the deal. Your customers, your clients, your audience likely has questions that your competitors aren't answering, or aren't answering in a way that you'd be able to inject your own personality or experience or expertise into. But you've got to find these questions. Now, in rapid fire succession, I'm going to give you a number of different ideas for where you can go to tap into this market research and where you're going to be able to get answers to the questions that they have. Yeah, that kind of made sense. Essentially, if you don't know what your customers' biggest pains are, here's where you go to find out. First, you can ask them directly. Pick up the phone, send them an email, ask them what their biggest pains are. Next, you can search Q&A sites and forums like Quora or Reddit. You can also do keyword research using Google Keyword Planner to see what kind of search terms people are looking for and how much search volume there is around each term. You also have the option of sending a survey using SurveyMonkey or Typeform to essentially poll people or ask them questions and get feedback and responses. Another thing you can do is look at what search terms are popular on Google and as well as on YouTube. Both Google and YouTube are powerful search engines, and they're both owned by Google, which is kind of the dominant name in search engines. Lastly, you can look through your previous emails for questions that you've received in the past. The odds are good if someone has asked you a question, other people have thought of that question. And if you've been asked the same question multiple times, well, clearly there's a problem here that needs addressing. Any of those resources is going to give you a number of different topics and ideas and pieces of content that you could create answers to. So the next step is to create that content. If writing is your jam, then you can do this by writing out your response as a simulated email to your customer. This is where you can imagine replying to a customer question, which is going to allow you to keep the tone of your message casual and conversational. If you hate writing but are okay with talking, then you can speak and record your voice into your phone's audio recorder. This is going to allow your content to come across as natural as having a friendly conversation, and it's great if the thought of writing bores or terrifies you. You can even have a friend or colleague interview you and ask you questions, kind of like a podcast interview, or hey, maybe even do a real podcast interview, which is going to yield all kinds of delicious little content nuggets. Content nuggets? That sounds disgusting. For bonus points though, video recording the whole thing is the best plan, which is going to give you the most bang for your buck by providing video, audio, and text when you get the audio transcribed, which leads me to the next step. It's now time to edit and polish up your content. If you recorded a video or an audio version of your content, then all you have to do is submit that recording to a transcription website. I personally use Rev, so I'll make sure to link that up in the descriptions below. What this will enable you to do is to take all of that file and essentially turn it into text for around $1 a minute. If you wrote out your content, essentially putting into text form first, well then all you really need to do here is do a quick once over to check for grammar, maybe some spelling, just to make sure that it flows nicely and makes sense. From there, you want to quickly scan through whether you wrote it out or whether you got the transcription back from a transcription service, and you want to look for stories or quotes or facts or interesting anecdotes that you could pull out later. And once that's done, it's time to post and share your content. It's here that you want to take all of the pieces that you've extracted from that main piece of content and share it on your website as well as relevant social media sites that are pertinent and interesting to you and to your audience. Actually, let me rephrase that. It's less about what's interesting to you and completely about what's interesting to your audience. So find out where they're present and active online, and that becomes the hub and the core of your social media strategy. Now, you're able to do this manually by going in and physically uploading each piece of content to each different social media site, but that's going to severely cut into your 3-hour time. So personally, I like to use a software called Metricool to do all of this for me, and again, I'll link that up in the descriptions below as well. What you'll do here is you'll schedule all of these different posts to go out at regular intervals over the next 90 days. Now here's the deal. My experience says that once you see how easy and effective and possibly even enjoyable this whole thing is, you're going to start finding time to carve out more 3-hour chunks to double or maybe even triple your overall content output. Another thing you can do to further increase the reach and engagement you're getting on all of your content is to use paid online advertising. But before you do, I'd highly recommend you check out my #1 organic marketing strategy, which may work out even better for you than paid ads. Cost obviously a whole lot less. So to help show you exactly how to do that and how to implement my #1 organic marketing strategy, I've linked up a video right here. So make sure to check it out now, and I'll see you in the next video. The solution is to use a combination approach known as PESO, which stands for paid, earned, shared, and owned. So let me break those down for you now. Paid media is, wait for it, anything that you pay for. So think of advertising.